Hey everyone, it's Brandon Rush. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Agent Investor. The goal of The Agent Investor is to help our audience make informed decisions on their multifamily commercial real estate through conversations with professionals in the field of commercial and multifamily real estate. Okay, on the show today, we have a new friend of mine, Mike Kozlowski of Claris Build and Design. This is a build and design company based out of Newtown, Connecticut, right here in our home territory. I'll let Mike jump right in. Mike, how are you today?
Yeah, Brandon, I'm doing great. I really appreciate having me on here. Talk a little bit about Claris Design Build, what we do, how we work with developers and real estate brokers like yourself, and maybe a little background about myself. So I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to it.
Absolutely. Same, likewise. So let's get right to it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, and how you and the company are involved in commercial and multifamily real estate.
Yeah, great question. So I appreciate the opportunity again. So Claris Design Build, we are an all-encompassing, what it sounds, design and build all under one roof, right? So we're wholly owned by a licensed architect. We've got a team of architects, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineers on the design side, along with our construction personnel, our estimators, superintendents, of course, project managers, all under one roof. True design build. There's a lot of other design build firms that do joint ventures with construction companies and architectural firms. But my office on the design side when I was there is right next to the construction team. So it's a really collaborative environment that I really love being part of. Nowadays, I started here as an intern, worked as a junior architect, did a little bit of project management. Nowadays, I'm in charge of the business development side. I lead a team of 3 people here in the Connecticut office, and we also actually have offices in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Salt Lake
Okay.
City, Utah. So our role in the business development world is to kind of locate, find clients. We're negotiated work. So that's through marketing efforts, through networking with folks like yourself. And in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is find these clients that most of the time are end users. It could be car dealers, manufacturers, private schools for athletic facilities, but a lot of the times too, they're developers and they're working in either the multifamily market, self-storage market, industrial flex space, all sorts of different arenas. Many of our projects kind of start though with the collaboration of real estate brokers like yourself. So I'm happy to be here to talk to you and talk to your base here about what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so the audience know how I got associated with Mike, he actually works closely with the team here at Coldwell Banker Commercial. They've done a couple of projects with him over the past, and his team presented in our office recently. And it was such a good presentation, and I think it's such not necessarily unique, but such a good product that you guys offer and offering to potential clients that I felt it was good to bring you on and just strengthen our relationship. So once again, thank you for jumping on. Let's jump into the next one. All right, so before we get into talks about design, build, or projects you're currently working on, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Unlike most kids these days, right? They don't know what they want to do. From an early age, I just vividly remember wanting to be within the design and or construction industry. I really didn't know what architecture was back then. I certainly didn't know what a developer was, and it probably was around 9 years old when my family moved into a single family house in a new development, and I sat out looking out the window watching the next house go up and was just enamored with the whole process from moving the dirt, putting the concrete in, framing it. Not only did I sit there and watch, I at the time loved to draw, so I was just drawing everything I could, the building itself, but also, the excavator. I vividly remember drawing this excavator. And it wasn't until, my family members, aunts, uncles started to realize, hey, you've kind of got a passion for drawing and you're interested in this stuff. And they kind of taught me what architecture was, what design was. So I started to kind of think about it. And I always kind of felt myself in the middle, right? Because when you do a little research on what architecture was, I was like, I don't want to just sit behind a desk drawing things all day. I want to be out in the field too, want to be part of the construction process. And even that being said, I still went through the process, got accepted into architectural school at Roger Williams University. And to the day I started there, I was still unsure. And I got the best piece of advice I possibly could get from an uncle of mine who owned a small contracting company. And he told me the one thing, he's like, listen, you can go to school and become an architect and get your degree in that and learn the construction side, but you can't do that in the reverse, right? You can't go to school for construction and then learn how to be an architect. That's something you have to go to school for. So I'll always thank
Mm,
him to this day for that. It was a great piece of advice, especially when I was going through the architecture school. It's a grueling program, and they want you. These professors are great. They want you working on these monumental type designs, a museum and the things you see in Architectural Digest. And it just didn't really speak to me. So it was a little bit of a struggle. But when I finally got a chance to intern here at Claris in about the summer of 2008, it clicked, right? We had everybody under one roof, as I said before, and it was part of a process that I could be part of the conceptual design and then hand over this building to a client. It was really, really something that I became passionate about, and I'm here 17 years later. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. No, great story. No, no, very good, very good. Okay, so moving on. So for those who are unfamiliar, how do you define design build? Why do you think it's becoming such a common model in commercial real estate development?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It is, and even still a little bit of residential stuff as well. They're doing some
Hmm.
design build stuff, but um, it really comes down to one thing. It's a singular source. It's a singular point of contact for both design and construction of any given development, whether it's a end user and or developer. That means the client has one contract. They've got one team working on behalf of them, and in our opinion, it produces the best possible results. It's pure collaboration. There's no finger pointing. Being on the design and construction team, we can't say, oh, it's not on the drawings. We didn't cover
Mm.
that. The budget's going up, right? We own it, and we've honed our craft from the beginning doing that, right? So there's no change orders. The dreaded word in any development is a change order because it wasn't on a drawing or wasn't captured somewhere. We can't do that. Frankly, the only change orders come is if we have a two-story development and the owner goes, I want to do 3 stories. Of course, there's a change order for that, but that's a change of scope, something completely different. For real estate development, we deliver a concept design and a budget very quickly. And it's popular in this commercial space because a lot of our clients are simply trying to run their business. They're trying to either run their development company, they're trying to run their car dealership, their manufacturing. And when they don't have to manage different egos, different contracts, different people to talk to, they can just come to us. It's kind of like an owner's rep. It's one point of contact, and basically what happens is it leads to faster and better decision making. And of course, when you save time, you're going to be saving money on your project.
All right, so basically, from a very high level, what you were stating is that you guys truly like a turnkey operation for a developer or investor, someone coming through who needs kind of some to hand off the design and build aspect of what they're looking to achieve. Whether they have a vision of what they want to get completed, they can hand it off to you, and you can design it, give it back to them, get approval, and then move on with the build. At a very high level, obviously. But yeah,
Absolutely. We want to be that one person they're talking to.
yeah,
Especially on the development side, you guys are looking at so many deals constantly, right? So
absolutely.
so you can't be wasting your time kind of helping manage personnel. So if you can just have at one point you're talking to us, of course you're involved in the whole process as much or as little as you want to be. Some clients, we've had clients that are just say, hey, touch base with me once a month when I owe you money, and we've had clients that are on the job site every single day. It depends on how they want to be involved with the project. But yeah, it's a full turnkey operation. It's really kind of amazing. Like I said, when you could be involved with that concept, that idea, getting that idea out of our developer or our client's head, and then at the end of the day, a year and a half, 2 years later, after your approvals and construction, you're handing over those keys. It's a really cool experience.
Got it, absolutely. And I'm going off script here a little bit, but I'm pretty sure this is the easy one. What size projects do you guys typically work on, or is it not like a typical size? It ranges.
Yeah, it does range. It ranges, frankly, from location from anywhere our offices are, right?
Got
We'll
it.
work on projects from $1 to $5 million, kind of locally to where we have personnel that can get there quickly. And then, the further away we get, the bigger the project has to be. Like, for example, we've gone across the Hudson River, about an hour and a half away, in Suffern, New York, and we just did a $50+ million project for a client out that way. But our sweet spot, if I have to pick, it's probably somewhere nowadays with like around a $10 million project. It takes about a year. That's kind of a really good project for Claris.
Okay, no, cool. All right, so moving on, how early should an architect or design build partner get involved when a broker or investor is evaluating a property?
We can't. We always joke we can't be involved soon enough, right? As soon as you start looking at a deal, we want to be involved, and for good reason, right? Often we have clients who can see a potential in a deal, whether it's a listing through a broker, or maybe they saw something online, or maybe they drove by something that was off market, and they are like, "Hey, I wonder what we can do with this property," and they have a concept, an idea, whether it's a multifamily or any other development. Recently, we had a client. There's a municipal building here in town that's up for sale. It's no longer being used. It's been vacant for a couple of years. we had a client reach out to us and they wanted to know what they could fit for multifamily there, which it is not currently zoned to be strictly multifamily. So basically what we did is we have the background drawing from the previous use. We got in there, we verified the structural columns. And then 2 days later, we had a concept layout of 2 stories of residential units with some amenity space, site plan improvements, and a concept budget. So what they were able to do with that is throw the unit count and the size of them, so you could put your rental rates in there into their pro forma along with their construction hard costs, and figure out if this thing pencils. So within 2 days, they're able to know exactly, okay, I can make an offer on this, and this is the max offer I could possibly do to make this work. In addition to that, what we did is we went above and beyond and we said, hey, if we can get this approved for a 3rd story, we can get 10 more units on this thing because it's a relatively small building for this amount of cost. And now they can adjust their basis, right? So if they thought they were going against somebody else, they can maybe come up, $100,000, $200,000 on their offer because
Sure.
they know in their back pocket maybe they can get some more use out of the property.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Oh,
we're
sorry.
just
Go
trying to
ahead.
get there. Yeah, sorry about that. We're just trying to get in as early as possible, and we want to be part of your development as early as possible. Just help you guys make the best educated decisions.
Got it. And kind of sticking on that specific project, 2 day turnaround. I mean, what at a high level, what is the secret sauce in being able to turn something around in 2 days? Is it application? I'm sure it's expertise, but your team, like, how do you render something within 2 days? And
Yeah, it's probably not as fancy as you're thinking in your head. Although we would like to, it's a blocked out diagram of what our unit sizes would be, knowing that we have to have a certain amount of wall space for windows and egress and everything else. This building was actually the lower level was sunken into the hill, so it kind of blocked out a lot of potential units that couldn't be used. So what we did was we're proposing a light well to get down to maybe some amenity space. It becomes usable that way. But it's a diagram. We know from our experience drawing up multifamily, especially with projects that we're working on personally, what a good sweet spot for size of units is in this area, in this market. And then, of course, our historic cost data, whatever industry we're doing. We work in not just one particular industry like a lot of other architects or construction managers. We work within 10 plus different industries. So we have historical data that we're constantly updating every time we not only just build something, but if we budget something, we don't get it, okay, we know we got good numbers from subcontractors, so we're going to keep that in the back of our mind so that the next time, because the quicker we can get responses to you guys, the better, like I said, educated you guys are to make decisions, but the more trust we develop with our clients, right? Oh, wow, these guys turned that on real quick. If I got a next one, they're going to spit it out real quick. And we'll be honest, if we can't do it, we just happen to have the bandwidth that day, those
Yep.
2 days to do it, and we're
Got
able
it.
to inform our client to make their decisions.
It's definitely a major value add is turning around, plans and requests within, I mean, 2 days is pretty extreme. And I'm sure it's based on the team's availability and whatnot. But honestly, even just a week is still would be, a reasonable amount of time to turn something around. So 2 days is definitely good. So, all right, let's keep it moving. So let's talk about the adaptive reuse project at Taunton Press headquarters. What made the property a good candidate for multifamily conversion? What were some of your big challenges?
Yeah, this is a project we're really excited about. Not only are we, design builders and we work a lot for clients, but we're also developers ourselves. And so sometimes when a project that's just too good comes along, Bill Clark here, the owner of Claris, he likes to diversify his investments a little bit. So we took a look at this one, and similar to the previous deal, we had a past client reach out to us about the former headquarters of Taunton Press. They're the people that created the magazines, the fine home building, the fine woodworking, the fine gardening, cooking, all those things.
And just for
Um,
the audience's knowledge, Taunton Press, what town is that located in?
the Newtown as well. So our
Got it.
hometown here, where our headquarters are. So
Yep.
it's a building we're very intimately familiar with. We drive by it all the time, and so that client, he reached out to us and was like, he had this idea. It's vacant for about 2 years. Maybe they had a couple people looking at it once in a while, but he wanted to make multifamily. So we ran through that same scenario as I just talked about in that municipal building. We laid out a couple of units. We put together some square foot numbers for him. We ran the numbers. We presented them. It wasn't exactly 2 days. It wasn't as fast, but we got that back to him in a quick amount of time, and he was pretty excited by it. And so he simply asked one question. What do you think about it to Phil? And his answer was simple. It was, if you don't buy this, I am going to buy this. And
Yeah.
so we did, right? But that was, of course, after we, got the letter of intent and the zone changes. And then we got other investors who actually that client is now an investor
Yes.
back on the project. So it worked out pretty well.
I got
But
it.
yeah, the property is just gorgeous. If you could probably still Google, it's probably a little bit, some remnants on LoopNet, but it's
Yeah.
13 acres of wooded area. It's a park-like setting. It just
Well,
you want to be there when you get on property. You're like, this is great. So it's well known in town. As we started to look at this and got a little bit more serious with the project, we got a good relationship with the family. It was still a family-owned business, and they own the building. We vowed to them, Phil and the team vowed to them, listen, we want to keep the essence of this. You guys have a legacy here in town. You built this successful, worldwide known brand, Taunton Press, and we want to make sure we do that. So we decided we're going to call it Taunton Woods is the
hmm,
residential development, but we said we're going to keep those buildings. And the reason why we were able to keep the buildings, the structures that are there, is frankly the dimensions worked out pretty well for a double loaded multifamily corridor. So after laying it out and making a few tweaks here and there, yeah, we got it approved, and it made a lot of sense. On top of that, we're moving our headquarters into maybe a not so user friendly use part of the building where multifamily could go.
hmm.
The lower part of one of the buildings is set into the landscape a little bit. They did a beautiful job as making sure not to interrupt the landscape when they originally built it. And we're actually going to put our offices there, and we think that's a benefit for our employees, right? Because we're going to build these world-class amenities for our tenants, the residential tenants, that our employees and future employees will be able to enjoy. So, all in all, it just made a lot of sense for us to do it. I'd say
Absolutely.
the cherry on top of the whole thing was it wasn't exactly zoned for it, but it was in an overlay design district, the South Main Street Design District. And being that we had 13 acres, we could essentially write our own regulations with, of course, the approval of the local zoning.
Hmm.
So we wrote into it that our density that we would like. So we have the ability to expand into a third building, and that's what we got approved. We got a third building, and that made the development pencil out even better than just the two standalone buildings.
Absolutely. What were the one or two major challenges you would say on that project?
Going through the zoning
Mm.
itself, for definitely, the whole state, and frankly, all across the country, there's such a shortage of housing, but nobody ever really wants it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants it in their backyard. It's what it
Yeah.
comes down to. And, going to sit down with our pre-app meeting with the town, they had just shot down probably close to 300 units combined of different developments. So
Wow.
we were unsure if that was going to go through, and took the risk with a deposit. But working with them, doing that adaptive reuse, we were not going to just simply come in and scrape vacant virgin land. We're going to reuse the structure that, let's be honest, office space is kind of dying. It was just going to sit there for a while. On top of that, we worked closely with environmental groups. Now, there's a beautiful part that makes this property beautiful is a stream and a pond, and it's, like I said, a park-like setting. And we worked with local environmental groups to say, hey, we're not only going to protect these areas, we're going to enhance these areas. So it was a win for them. It was a win for the town. We're reusing a piece of property. We were taking the property off of septic, which is worse for the environment, and hooking it up to sewer. So
Mm.
extending the line for the town a little bit further down the street. So, of course, there's some financial implications from that, but it worked out well for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one thing I learned from from multifamily development from just my discussion, it seems like a lot of it comes down to cooperating with the town, even though they may not have reasons, valid reasons for not wanting it to go through. It's still a matter of just cooperating with them, giving a little bit of give and also, bringing value to the town versus just throwing up units for the sake of generating income, but also
Yeah,
listening and working with them and making them feel like they are part, making them part of it, but also making them feel as if they're part of it in whatever way you can, especially by
no,
keeping some of the culture in the town and whatnot in the history.
it's 100% true. My hometown where I lived in Bethel, next town over, I'm on the planning and zoning board. I'm the vice
Yeah.
chair of the board, and you'd be amazed how many developers come through without having a pre-application meeting and getting the buy-in from not just the planning and zoning board, right? Just the people in town hall. They're the first gatekeepers. Get them involved. Get them on your side.
Yeah.
I'll tell any of our clients, it doesn't have to be multifamily. As soon as we have a concept design, as soon as we get a budget to them, you know, they say, what should we do next? I say, hey, let's go to the town hall. Let's go to the planning and zoning department and say, I want to do this here. What can I do to make this a beneficial project, not just for us, but for the town too, or the city,
Mm.
wherever we're going? And so many people skip that step because they're worried it's just going to add costs. It's going to add this. But at the end of the day, it actually saves you time, which I said earlier in this conversation. Time is money, and if you
Yeah,
can shave
absolutely.
off 3, 4, 5, 6 months off your approval process, you don't know what the cost of things are going to be 6 months from now. So you got to get it done when you can.
We're starting to wind down here. Where do you see the biggest opportunities in the next few years in terms of design build firms and their investor partners?
Yeah, that's a good question there. So I think it's just a matter of being creative with properties, especially up here in the
Yeah.
Northeast, right? Our Salt Lake City office has all the land in the world to go work with out there. It's kind of crazy. It's truly the Wild West out there. But here in the Northeast, even down in our Charlotte office, there's no more land being made. We have
Mm,
all the land we're ever going to have. So what do we do with these properties that are available? Do we reuse the infrastructure or do we scrape them down? That's the type of stuff that we help our clients figure out. That's why, I truly believe that the adaptive reuse, like the Taunton Press building, is going to be more and more in the future. We're obviously doing that project. There's another well-known office building of a national brand that one of our clients just bought down in Norwalk, and we're weighing the options of multifamily, but we also got it approved for self-storage to convert that in a market that needs both of those industries. About 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, there was a Bed Bath & Beyond big box store that went out of business, and we converted it to a Mazda dealership. So
oh yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah, that was a really cool project. It really depends on what the market is and what the market needs. Like I said, the Norwalk one really needs housing and really needs self-storage. Where we did that Bed Bath & Beyond, it was in the middle of a bunch of car dealerships, and everyone thought the guy was crazy for spending that much money, but he was able to bring a new brand to the area, and it worked out well
absolutely.
for him. So I think just being really creative with that and how to use it. But on the flip side, we've talked a little bit about zoning here today, is just thinking outside the box from a zoning perspective, right? Like I said, I sit on the zoning board. And just because something isn't zoned for a certain use doesn't mean you shouldn't look at a property and have that preliminary conversation with the town. There's a lot of zoning codes that are designed from a different era. All right. We lived in a different world, not just 20, 30 years ago, but 5, 10 years ago. COVID changed a
Yep.
lot of things on how we operate. And fortunately, we live in this great society that we can change the laws as long as you have reasons to do so. By change the laws, I
Yep.
mean the zoning codes and all that stuff. If you have the information and the data to support it, everyone's going to be receptive to it. And I've seen it on both the side that I sit on the board and present it to other towns. The towns that are willing to adapt to the zoning ideas, newer zoning ideas, are the ones that are going to thrive and make it to the next level. So.
Yeah, no, very good. No, very helpful. So we're getting out of the Claris and design and build questions. We're moving into the personal stuff.
Yeah.
So, when you're not working within your current work, what are some of your hobbies? What are things you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I really love playing golf. Like I could do that every single day if I was able to, but my wife would probably kill me. But no, the most important thing is doing fun things with my family. My wife and
Of
I,
course,
we have three little beautiful children that are learning every aspect of the world, and just kind of seeing how they grow and understand things is I never thought it would bring as much joy as it possibly does.
yeah.
Specifically, my in-laws side of the family, they have a charity that they run, and it's called the Scotty Fund, and they help families who have children with life-threatening illnesses.
Hmm.
And we do a bunch of different events throughout the year, and my kids are involved just a little bit here and there. Every
Yeah.
year it gets a little bit more involved, but my wife's hope is that seeing them and helping them understand how to pay it forward is just going to make them better people in the long run, and it's truly a blessing, and I can't be more thankful for that opportunity. To kind of round out the whole process, right? One other thing I like to do is woodworking.
Yeah.
It's a very similar process to design build. You come up with an idea for a table or built-ins in your family. My wife has ideas all the time of what I should build, and halfway through the project, I'm wondering why the heck am I doing this? But after it's the wood is cut and it's put together and it's finished and it's put in place, and you take a step back and you go, wow, that came out of my head, and now we're using it. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
that's when she usually comes to me for the next one and says, okay, I want to do this now. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens. But
And that's
yeah,
cool. And
it's
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 always those
pretty fun.
odd little quirky things where you think, is this the best use of my time in terms of financially? But it's like it just brings you extreme joy with the finished product, and it means a lot. So completely understood.
It
Keep
does.
going with
It
it.
does. Yeah.
All right. So final question for you. How can people find you and get a hold of you?
I'm an open book. My email address is mikek@clarisdesignbuild.com. Mike K, Mikek. We also have a contact us form on our website, clarisdesignbuild.com. I'm not too big on social media. I let my wife do all that stuff with the family stuff. We have a marketing team here that does all our great marketing on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that good stuff. But directly to me, Mike K. If you found me on LinkedIn, Michael Kozlowski, you'll see my cell number there. You could reach out directly. I love talking with people. So
All right, cool. So we're going to wrap up now. But Mike, first off, thank you so much for making time and on your busy
yeah,
schedule. And you got some big projects going on. I appreciate you making time for this. And to our audience, thank you all for joining us for another episode of The Agent Investor. We wish you all the best in your health and happiness. And we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mike.
Brandon, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
You got it.